really the big trade talk over the next couple days is going to continue to be centered around Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, Daryl Morey and Elton Brand and their front office. They've been canvassing the league to see what they can get. This is a player, remember, who has 4 years left on his deal. They don't have to do a trade, but they're motivated to find a deal out there to unload the kind of assets they would like to get at this point for Ben Simmons.
How did we get here? Like, legit, how did we get to a moment in time where Ben Simmons, our former #1 overall pick, rookie sensation extraordinaire, bull who carried us for 16 games during this 2017-2018 season, defensive player of the year candidate, accolades out of this world Aussie, is now being shipped by the team to get traded? How did we get to a point where there are many reports out there swirling about him cutting off communications to not only the organization, but teammates? I'm not sure what reports or trades are true or not, but the point still stands. How did we get here? Oh, yeah.
Simmons, they cleared out for him. Tapping his way in. Spins on Gallinari. Gets it up. Right there. And a foul as Thibault goes to the basket. Boy, Simmons.
This play right here, ladies and gentlemen, is why I am no longer a defender of Benjamin David Simmons. 3.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter during Game 7, and Ben shies away from the moment. Our #2 guy, afraid. How can you as a fan defend this? That dunk could have accumulated some momentum for his team, who desperately needed it in that specific situation. Ben dunks that ball, and it could have, more than likely should have, potentially created a spark wave of positivity that would have ultimately led the Sixers to victory and a ticket to the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals. But no. Now, we are all quite aware of his disappearance and overall unplayable game in that series, so we really don't have to look at the stats, but regardless, come on, Ben. Disappointed ain't even the word. It is one thing to try and fail to shoot, which we as fans can all live with, probably be mad at, sure, actually, absolutely, but to legit not attempt any shots in the fourth quarter for multiple games in the playoffs is just atrocious. I attended Game 6 in Atlanta, and Ben Simmons was an absolute non-factor, even on the defensive end of the ball, which is his bread and butter. Now, yes, Bull was in foul trouble for most of those final games, and obviously he couldn't get into a rhythm offensively, but if you are that guy, if you are Ben Simmons, if you are that Bull, you have to step up and give something to stay afloat. The reason why I'm more so disappointed is honestly because of the Bulls' putrid free throw performance, which I admit was the aspect of Ben's game that I thought was going to improve, because it was the obvious thing that was going to help the team win. Don't want to chuck up threes because you obviously aren't going to make them? Fine. At the very least, hit your free throws, bro. Don't want to take mid-range jumpers? Fine. Drive to the hoop, get contact, head to the charity stripe, and knock them down to offset your lack of willingness to shoot, because if you can't at least do that, what else can you bring scoring-wise? So what happened this playoffs, you may ask? No jumpers, minimum drive, leading to a small amount of contact fouls, creating a scenario where Ben Simmons wasn't able to see himself put a ball in the hoop. And him not being able to see himself put a ball in the hoop broke his confidence. Atlanta willingly gave Mans the opportunity to shoot free throws using the hack of Ben strategy, and he folded. We've seen Ben knock down free throws consistently for stretches during the regular seasons, but what happened? I'll tell you what happened. He got exposed. And when I say exposed, I mean humiliated. Demeaned so much to where he was so much in his head that he couldn't even dunk a ball over Trae Young. Ben is still my boy, and he will be until the day he is no longer a 76er, but facts are facts. The toxic cocktail of the 76ers management coddling him and not forcing him to adapt his game to the NBA style, mixed with the Aussie's stubbornness, was a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate. At the beginning of the season, I told y'all why I don't care for off-season videos, and now you know why. To the Ben detractors, you were right. And it's not like I haven't said this myself, but I'm just going to say it again, with umph this time. Ben Simmons' refusal to attempt shots and attitude about his God-given ability is holding the team back. The same way that I said earlier this season that Joel's immaturity was costing the team glory, it is now time for Ben Simmons to correct his fixable flaw. Now, I don't know what is happening in his personal life. I am not in the gym with him. What I do know is that I see him knocking down threes during warm-ups and playing like a LeBron-esque Bull during summer run videos. Other than during the start of games and what I see during practice film, I do not know what the Bull is working on, but whatever it is not cutting it, nor translating to on-court play. Ben, for me to have your back and defend your style of play for years, for you to go out like that was honestly a middle finger to me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel the same way. Now, y'all know me. I try to stay objective in my takes, so I'm not going to blame all of the second round loss on Ben, because it definitely was not. It was a full team collapse. The order of blame for a second round loss obviously starts at Ben. Next would be Coach Glenn Rivers. His rotations were putrid. Next, Tobias. He is not the ISO scorer that we needed during that time. Next would be Joel Embiid. He is not a killer yet. And finally, it will be Shake, who sold us out, who was supposed to be our sixth man, got his minutes taken by a rook. Very upset at him. And even still, with me handing a piece of blame pie to all these participants, if you're Ben Simmons, all you have to do is hit your free throws. We win that series, which for all intensive purposes is the easiest part of the game of basketball. No excuses. After coming up short on what could have been their easiest path to a championship, the Sixers are at rock bottom. A cold, reflective, self-induced rock bottom. And yet, even with me confessing how pissed off I am at Ben the last 6 minutes and 30 seconds, I still wouldn't trade him. That is unless it's for Damian Lillard. Let me explain. You can call me crazy, but the way I see it, the Sixers have 3 options. 1, wait for Dame to inevitably become available after the season if all reports and cryptic tweets are, believable. 2, we can panic and trade Ben now, potentially and more than likely significantly worsening our championship odds. Or 3, wait until next year's free agency and retool down the line. Maybe I'm wrong, but it truly seems like this is Dame's last year in Portland, Oregon, especially if they do not reach at least the conference finals. It seems like they are going to run it back one more time to see if Chauncey Billups can get things cracking as their new head coach. Dame, honestly, at least I don't think, isn't going anywhere till at least the end of next season. Maybe even up to the trade deadline if Portland isn't looking good. The odds are, with the many super teams out west, what comes to mind, the LA Lakers, my Bulls out Golden State, who are bringing the band back together, Portland isn't going to the Western Conference Finals, dog. Barring injuries, of course. The Sixers should be in stall mode right now for Dame. We should not panic at this moment in time. If Ben ultimately does have to be traded, offering up Ben and the Godfather package is the best option to not only continue our championship window, but also make us a top, 2-team, 3-team in the NBA that actually has a chance to win it all. And some of y'all may get annoyed with me, but if I cannot get Dame back for Ben and other assets, I'm not giving up our point forward, point guard, whatever you want to call him. Why? Because it doesn't make the team better. The best way that I can describe Ben's impact on a team is that he raises your floor significantly, yet caps your ultimate ceiling. And what I mean by that is, with his current ability, Simmons is an all-world regular season player. He will get you a top seed and put you in a position to be successful going into the playoffs. With that being said, he cannot be your offensive go-to player during those times, obviously due to his limitations. And that enigma problem right there is why we have a civil war amongst us Sixer fans. I can and will admit that the Bull has trouble running offensive pick and rolls. His post moves has a lot to be desired. He still has to learn how to finish through traffic and contact, etc. But you cannot tell me Ben Simmons is invaluable to this team. We can debate, yo, but let's keep it 100. If we want the Sixers to be better, think about it like this. Even with this version of Ben Simmons averaging career lows across the board, Bulls still obtain a first seed in the East. Not to mention the best analytical starting 5 in the NBA. Now, this was definitely off the back of JoJo, but to keep it a buck, who kept Bulls in first place during his absence? After everybody, and I mean everybody, said the Sixers were going to fall off. Let's not act like Benny 1 point hasn't carried before. The 76ers offense will always be different because their best main player is a 7-foot traditional modern center Playmaking, defending, and passing still matter for this team's makeup based on that fact alone, even if it's the end trend to make fun of Ben because he doesn't know how to shoot. We have been spoiled by regular season success since Ben's rookie year, and that has been to the detriment of our sanity. When we somehow end up losing in the second round each season, people are now impatient. And I get it. Trust me, I am too. Y'all know I am too. But I gotta keep it a bean, yo. Like, it seems like a lot of Bulls out here are Ben Simmons haters first and Sixers fans second. Because there is no way you truly believe that some of these proposed trades are in the Sixers' best interest. Look, man, I'm just scared. Like, seriously, I'm just scared. Adding anyone but Dame, and we are going to be leaving Joel by his lonesome, setting up scenarios where we are royally screwed if he is injured. Which, if you haven't noticed, essentially happens each and every single year. Take emotion out of the equation for a second. If you want to increase your odds for a championship without Simmons on the team, which is what we as fans should want, first and foremost, you have to recoup at least 80 to 85% of Ben's ceiling value. Anything less and Bulls are doomed. You barely get equal value for big trades nowadays anyway. Let's talk about Harden to BK. Let's talk about PG to OKC. Those teams are trash. And don't even get me started on the history the Sixers have trading their stars. Who did we get back for Charles Barkley? Who did we get back for Allen Iverson? How were those teams after those trades? If we're going to trade Ben Simmons for an offensive-minded player, their offense has to be better or equal to the impact that Ben has everywhere else in his game. Now, unfortunately, that leaves us in a bind because Ben is a, human Swiss Army knife doing 9 out of 10 things well, which is why we have to go for a top 5 offensive player, a star. We do not have time to experiment with young players. You either get the real thing or you run it back. A Joel Embiid, CJ McCollum Sixers squad is not taking down the Brooklyn Nets. How about a Joel Embiid Brogdon team defeating a Milwaukee Bucks squad? How about an Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid duo? Now, yes, you could also make the argument that a Joel and Ben team couldn't either, but we've seen flashes of greatness the last 5 seasons. We are right at the door, in my opinion. You do not give that up just for anything off of the fact that we are upset. If you don't get Dame, the best option to win is to build off of that foundation. That's talking odds. I want to reiterate, this playoff collapse was inexcusable, and this is not me defending Ben Simmons saying he needs to be on the Sixers at all costs. That ship has sailed, but history shows a trend. The 76ers have not won a playoff series, let alone a playoff game, without Ben in the lineup for 9 years. Look at Luka and Ja, leading their teams, albeit with small help, but only to lose in the first round year after year. Look at D. Mitch, the Bull who we always compare Ben to, not making it past the second round himself each year. Zion hasn't been to the playoffs yet. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were given the luxury of vets as rookies, and it has helped their game tremendously, even though their window probably is now closed with the East getting tougher. Bradley Beal hasn't been to the second round since 2017, and Zach LaVine hasn't ever been to the playoffs during his career. It took Giannis how long to get to the finals? Ben Simmons has put Philadelphia in a dilemma where we now have to hope he sees the light, because if he doesn't, the only other option is to trade him. We Sixer fans aren't toxic. Emotionally irrational sometimes, yes, but we're not toxic. We do, though, have to recognize our role in participating in this circus and ultimately making Ben's value go down. Ben Simmons should be called out. He's earned that. He's earned the magnifying glass that will now inevitably be placed on his game this upcoming season if he indeed does stay a Sixer. If you trade Ben, you better get volume for him that guarantees you a top seed and a second round appearance at minimum. Because what is the point being in the 4th or below seed having a harder road in the playoffs? It just doesn't make sense in my opinion. Context matters. The success of Ben Simmons' career up to this point matters. If we keep him and he develops, the problem takes care of itself. If he doesn't, I honestly think we have to roll with the punches. Because in my opinion, the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Ben Simmons dilemma.